Hey, let's get started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our special summit, Rising to the Top, Becoming a Chief Project Officer. We are extraordinarily excited to put together this summit with an excellent list of speakers. And hopefully, everybody will have a chance to learn, to network, as well as to really plan your career path as you climb to the top. Why we started this summit. We, PMO Advisory, has been working in project management since 2012. We are both a training company and consulting company. And frankly, I like to do things that other people don't really do. And one of the observations that I have as both a chief project officer myself, but also as an academic, is that there appears to be a lot of emphasis in project management on the tools and skills that help propel people forward, which is, of course, the right thing to do. But I do think that we need a little bit more ambition, a little bit more of that juice that propels us to climb that executive ladder, not necessarily just a technical ladder. And so the reason why we started this summit is we want to create a dedicated forum to discuss and learn those strategic skills, not just how to do things, how to solve problems, but to think ahead and look at the next bend in the road, but also the human-centric skills. Because as I'm sure most people realize, as you climb that career ladder, you build your career starting typically with some level of technical skills. But as you climb, those technical skills are still important, but it is more important for you to be able to associate and communicate with people, convince people. In technology world, one of the biggest challenges we have is not the technology implementation itself, but rather the human elements of adoption. The second thing I want to really focus on is as important as technical skills are, and I'm a university professor, so I know how important they are. I also think that there is no substitute to working with people, solving tough problems. And that is, again, coming back to the human skills. With the rise of AI, and I recently even did an interview with the Sirius XM on project management and artificial intelligence, it comes back down to that project managers are there to put teams together, to make sure everybody collaborate well, to solve difficult problems. Project managers themselves don't always have the answer. They are facilitators. They are very smart about assembling good group of people to solve these big problems. And then lastly is, I think as a profession, as project manager, and I consider myself to be a project program portfolio manager, we need to have a little bit more aspiration. There are not that many chief project officers out there. Depending on how you search on LinkedIn, you could find a couple thousand here and there. But I do think that this title CPO serves as an aspirational role for many of us. Now, these skills that we talk about today, of course, aren't just for a chief project officer. Our next speaker, for example, is a chief transformation officer. So there are other C-level roles that all of these skills apply. But I think for us as project professionals, this is a little bit of an aspirational role. Where are we going to? Where can we be? And where do we want to go? And of course, finally, how do we get there? So these are the purposes for this summit. Today, we have assembled, as I mentioned, an excellent list of speakers. They themselves are well accomplished. They are Chief Transformation Officer, for example, in our next presentation, how the Chief Transformation Officer creates an innovative ecosystem beyond the boardroom. Next, we have Panos, who is a dear friend, who is also CEO of a large organization himself, and he will highlight his journey, 40 plus years, of course, in really how project management has helped him in really becoming the Chief Executive Officer. Following that, we'll have Sapri to talk about organization change management for project executives. Now, for those of you who know me, I work with Sapri very closely, and we work with chief executive officers, other C-levels on a regular basis. And then we'll break for lunch. But here I'm going to insert a really quick discussion on what I consider to be the Chief Project Officer skills. It's a little bit based on the article I'd written some years ago. I refreshed that presentation and also toss in a couple of new things. From there, we'll talk about communication, the art of C-suite communication by Professor Gail Yash. I think people will find that to be extraordinarily useful in terms of how do you communicate with the sponsors, the project executives, and the chief executive officer. Susan will then talk about agility, leading with agility, and how not just the agile movement, but how we really think and feel as we work as a professional in the field. Finally, as a last major presentation, we have Brian Williamson, one of the most accomplished, definitely in terms of academic and certifications, and Brian will share about himself at that time. He talks about the purpose of, unlocking the power of purpose-driven strategic decision-making. And this can help a lot of us try to make the right decisions and solving those difficult problems and make the right judgment call. So those are what we have planned for today. There's the program guide, and for those who really interested, you can scan this code, and in the program guide, you also could find the PDUs. And this summit today can earn you, I think, about 7 PDUs. Finally, I do want to talk about, given any live virtual summit, there could always be technology issues. And today, I'm in Northeast. I live in New Jersey. For those of you who know me, we actually have a snowstorm coming. So even my daughter's school shut down. So in case there are technology issues, to the extent possible, we, of course, will try to resolve it. If you do have problem with Zoom, this is using Zoom webinar technology. Zoom, of course, is also available. And you can email us at training@pmoadvisory.com to inquire. If there's more of a general Zoom problem, for example, power outage in this area, we'll try to do our best to resume the webinar. So give us 10 minutes and try to log in again. And we'll always update our latest information on this webpage. Before we go, and then I'll see if there are any questions, I want to thank you for joining us today. We have over 125 people joining registered, so this is truly exciting. And I think it is a wonderful way to start the new year. So thank you. So let me see if there are any questions. Give me a second. And otherwise, we'll pause and start at 10:15 for the next speaker. So there are no open questions. There's one hand raised. Okay, so I don't see any questions. Okay, so we'll pause here for about 5 minutes, and then our next presenter, which I'll do a brief introduction, and then we'll start with the presentation on the Chief Transformation Officer. Thank you.